corrections. And we have provided this in a timely and accurate manner. And so for us, this is the trust that we speak about. I'd like to also state that we do not have anything to hide. And if you would notice from our registration, whether it is the balloting we've opened up to the media, I do not believe this was the case prior to 2020. In the case of nominations, we've opened up nominations to the media, and every single political party has had its turn. And they have been given the opportunity to address the citizenry. And we've also provided the citizenry with the opportunity to observe the process. They be able to collate with near precision the number of persons who have registered throughout the country on any given day.
So you just heard from the EC. This was at the last IPAC meeting, that meeting that was streamed for everybody to see and know what happens at IPAC meetings. Let's speak with Dr. Tanko Rashid Computer, who is the Deputy Director for Elections and IT for the National Democratic Congress. Good morning, Doc. You're welcome. Dr. Tanko.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Good morning.
Good morning, dear. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you, Doc?
I'm good. I'm good.
Well, great. Doc, EC says that they are going to print papers. Now you have issued a statement. You are calling for so many things from the EC. Why do you want to hijack the operations of the Electoral Commission on this planned training that they have for your party agents?
What are they training them for? On what? On what figures are they training them on? You see, this Electoral Commission, when we talk, then Ghanaians will not follow the issues that we are talking about. And then people will come out and talk as if NDC is attacking Electoral Commission. You are talking of Provisional Voters Register, a revised Provisional Voter Register, of which you are going to exhibit again. You said you are going to re-exhibit it online and then give to political parties with a template. If there are issues, then we'll fill in the template and bring you forward. You can correct them before you go to certified register. So as we speak now, they don't have a register. You don't have a register, you are printing ballot papers. Have you ever heard that thing before? The register will indicate to you the number of voters you have in each constituency, and then polling stations. Based on that, you generate what we call ballot statistics. The ballot statistics will indicate every polling station how many voters are there, plus a percentage of 5% is added to take care of spoiled ballots during voting. People will spoil their ballots. So you add 5% percentage margin. Now, when you do these statistics, it will now run out to the number of ballot papers to be printed for each constituency. Before you can proceed to go and print, you do these statistics on a certified register, a register that has no issues. That you are now certain that this is the total number of people on that register. We don't have it as of now. What we are having now is the Provisional Voters Register. You can use Provisional Voters Register to print ballot papers. It's not allowed. It's not done anyway. So that's our beef with them. If they are going ahead to print notice of poll, we have no problem. Shortly after balloting, you go and do notice of poll to indicate to the general public how the candidates are going to appear on the ballot paper, notifying them. It's understandable. We have no concern with that. But to add printing of ballot papers, on what are you printing the ballot papers? Which figures are you printing in? Which register? These are the issues we are talking of. Common sense will tell you that it doesn't make sense to anybody.
Respond to the request you have made.
We are meeting them this morning, 11 o'clock. We sent a letter to them yesterday. But before that, I met their Deputy Director of Electoral Commission, the Deputy Commissioner, Dr. Bosman, at a forum at the Lisa Hotel. And he indicated to me that actually they are referring to printing of notice of poll. Then I told him that then they should revoke the letter and bring another one. Because your letter is very clear. Your letter is saying that printing of notice of poll and ballot papers. So if you are saying you are referring to notice of polls, then revoke that letter and bring us another letter indicating that you are referring to printing of notice of poll, then we know, because as we speak now, we don't have a register. You have not given us a register because you have abandoned the previous one and you are now talking of giving us a revised provisional register. We don't have it. You said you are not ready with it unless next week. In between, how can you go and print ballot papers when the political parties don't have registers?
Well, Dr. Tanko, we recollect that on 22nd July, the NDC wrote to the Electoral Commission requesting for electoral code books. Can you share with us the outcome of that request you made of the Electoral Commission?
We repeated the same request yesterday in our letter to them. As we speak now, we don't have the code book. They have not given us the code book. They haven't. They haven't given us. Yesterday, in our reply to them, we repeated the same request because we need the code book. Before you can even generate statistics, the code book must come out first. Because the code book will tell us every polling station how many voters we have and how many voting centers we are going to have. They have been talking some 40,649 voting centers. Where is the code book to describe those positions or polling voting centers? Where is it? It's not there. They haven't given us. We repeated it yesterday in our letter to them.
Dr. Tanko, what does the code book entail?
That's what I've just described. It will indicate to you the number of polling stations that you have in a constituency and each polling station voter population. It will tell you this polling station, this is the number of people who are voting. This polling station, this is the number of people who are voting. That is the code. The code will be there. That is the polling station code, the polling station name, and then the total registered voters for each of them. Now, when you have this, it makes it easier for you to generate the statistics for each polling station. You are just doing a 5% percentage increase for each of them. And that one there, you add them up to now get the total number of ballot papers to be printed for each constituency at the end of it. So when it is sent to the printing house, it makes it easier. The printing house will know that this is the total number of ballot papers I'm going to print for the entire period. So you cannot print more than that, because it has already taken care of the excesses. The 5% has been there. So you cannot add any excess in there. If you don't have this thing is not generated. Then somebody tells you that, come bring your agent. I'm going to do ballot printing. What are you printing? What papers are you printing? What quantity are you printing?
So until you have received the code book and all of the statistics you are requesting, you will impede the Electoral Commission from printing any ballot papers.
We are not impeding them. You yourself have seen that. Does it make sense to anybody? You yourself, you have seen it. Does it make sense to anybody that people can just get up and say, I'm printing ballot papers without all these indications? It doesn't make sense. You can't print ballot. What figures are you printing? Do you just get up and say, I'm printing ballot papers? You must have something to rely on to print the ballot papers. You don't have it, and you want to go and print. You will print in vacuum. We don't print in vacuum. There must be a document. Where's the document? That's the document we are asking.
Well, Dr. Tanko, Electoral Commission has also denied of ever promising to release the provisional register to you. However, NDC claims that if by next week you haven't received it, you won't be happy about it. What's the anxiety about this time frame that you are attaching towards this provisional voters register?
Well, at the IPAC meeting, we heard them talking of some 1 week. If they came out and said, they didn't say 1 week, they said within 2 weeks or earlier. Listen to them. That they said they will release the provisional voter register to political parties within 2 weeks or earlier. So if we said 1 week and you said 2 weeks or earlier, and we started requesting it after Tuesday, is it not, doesn't it fall within your earlier thing you are talking of? Well, we have no problem. That's why we haven't said anything about it. Within 2 weeks, Monday will fall within that the 2 weeks that they are talking of. So expectedly, Monday or latest Tuesday, which is exactly the 2 weeks, we will have the provisional register. That was their promise. And they followed it with a statement. And so Dear, we are not worried. We are waiting. Today is Thursday, and so we have some 4 days time. The register should be ready, and we will pick it. So we have no problem with them.
Dr. Tanko, so if by Tuesday the Electoral Commission has given you the provisional voters register and you go through it and you see some discrepancies or inconsistencies in it, would you this time be submitting evidence to the EC? Would you be coming with some data to them?
Of course, that's the agreement we reached with them. They said they are giving it us with a template. So if we see discrepancies again, we will use their template and report to them. That's what they said. And then we are taking them by their words. And so if they give us the provisional register with the template, we would use the template and then put in all the corrections that we think they should correct to the provisional register. We are not stampeding them in whatever they are doing. We are rather helping them. In fact, it is only NDC in this business which is helping the Electoral Commission to let us protect our democracy and our electoral system. Otherwise, if we also fold our arms like others, you would have seen what will happen in this country. Some by heart register would have been used to elect an illegal president for Ghana. That's what we're going to do.
Dr. Tanko, if you receive the provisional register and you see the inconsistencies and share with the Electoral Commission, would you go back to your earlier request for an independent audit on the register?
I thought we have issued a statement on that. Shortly after the IPAC, you have our statement, you read it. And you've seen our position on the way forward. So I don't want to repeat myself again.
Right.
We've done it. We'll show you our way towards the register and then the IT system. It's in our statement, and we'll discuss it on your platform. So I won't repeat myself again.
Finally, before you go, it appears that you are not entirely happy or enthused with the notices that have been served with the political parties. How well does the NDC want the Electoral Commission to communicate with them?
Of course, that is why we told them that they should stop giving the short notices. You saw a letter that was written to them yesterday. They should stop that kind of 24-hour expected. We don't do things. We don't work like that. That's why there should be a timetable. We ask them to revise their own timetable, so that we all follow the timetable. But you don't sit down, all of a sudden letters are flying onto your WhatsApp, inviting you for this, bring this, do that. As if we are some military regime. We don't do that. We don't do that. Actually, we are not happy with them with that kind of attitude. And today we will express it again at the meeting with them. We'll tell them, we'll let them know.
Okay. You will let them know. We'll also be looking forward to the matters arising after your meeting with them and on which things or which topics that you would have reached a certain agreement on. So, Dr. Tanko, thank you so much. We'll do well to come back to you again.
I'm grateful.
Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer is the Deputy Director for Elections and IT at NDC. And he says that they are not too happy with the way Electoral Commission is doing its things. They have raised certain concerns. They are requesting that the codes book be given to them. And today they will be having a meeting with the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission has called the parties to come for a meeting. And at that meeting, they will be raising the concerns that they have initially raised so that some decisions can be taken and for things to be clear to everybody. That's our forefront story today, where we've looked at NDC's demand of statistics from the Electoral Commission before the ballot printing even begins. Let's get straight into trends and sports. Let's know what is trending in Ghana at the moment and the latest in sports. Godwin is up with sports and trends.
Welcome to the latest Possibilities Tour as we follow Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia's vibrant campaign in the Western and Western North regions of Ghana. Today, we witness the blend of tradition, innovation, and the enthusiasm of the communities as they engage with a leader who promises bold solutions for the future.
Welcome to ABC in the morning. This is the trends and sports segment that I am bringing to you, and I am Godwin Opoku Ochre. So today you realize Black Stars has a match at 4 p.m. that everybody would be expecting a win, and also there are a lot of things trending on X. So I am bringing to you what is trending on X, then afterwards we will get into what we have to know about the matches that will be happening in the AFCON qualifiers today. So let's get straight into what is trending on X. So today we have the first trend to be Prof. Jampo. Professor Jampo is a lecturer at the University of Ghana, Political Science Department. Also we have organized labor trending, we have Hurricane Milton trending, and also we have UTAG trending. UTAG is the University Teachers Association of Ghana. So first of all, why is Professor Jampo trending? He went on his Facebook word yesterday. Yesterday, the organized labor suspended its planned strike, and he went on his page and wrote, "Colleagues, good evening. As I indicated earlier, we were called to go get briefing about some new proposals government had made in response to our demand that illegal mining be addressed. The following happened at the meeting. 1. Two of the leaders, Joshua Ansa and Dr. Bampo, came to the meeting with an already prepared speech calling for suspension of the intended strike. 2. We questioned the propriety of their action and they apologized. They read the supposed new interventions from government to us. 3. We responded that the interventions were not different in substance from ones we discussed and rejected at our meeting on Monday, 7th October, and that government should at least place a temporary moratorium on mining for a few days so we can all discuss the practicalities of all the proposals. 4. The leadership of organized labor refused to listen, and before we could make further suggestions, they called in the media and read their already prepared speech to them. The meeting was rancorous and acrimonious. It ended in disunity. 5. UTAG NEC, that is the UTAG National Executive Council, meets over this tonight. And given the overwhelming support we have given to the fight against illegal mining through the voting outcomes of the public universities across the country, let us brace ourselves to be the only conscience of the nation in the fight against the existential threat that confronts us all. And the last thing he wrote is, it has been heated and upsetting, and we hoping to pull ourselves together to give further updates after our NEC meeting this evening. Good evening to all. President Ransford Jampo, University of Ghana, UTAG. And under the comment section, Oswald Mark went there to say, organized labor leadership do not have the right to do as they wish. They act in accordance with their decisions of their members. Next step is let the members impeach all leadership immediately. And also, the reason why UTAG is trending and organized labor is trending, they are all tied to Prof. Jampo's own. So UTAG yesterday released a statement saying UTAG industrial industrial action against mining in forest reserves, farms, and water bodies. And in the statement, it says the National Executive Council of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, has successfully concluded a referendum regarding industrial action to support a nationwide ban on mining and prospecting for gold and other minerals in forest reserves, farmlands, and rivers. The referendum, which involved participation from all 15 members branches of UTAG, had a total of 2,762 members casting their votes. The results are as follows. 2,153 said yes, representing 77.95%, and 607 said no, representing 21.98%, and 2 members abstained, representing 0.07%. So the statement went on to say, with an overwhelming majority of 77.95% voting in favor, the National Independent Elections Committee declares the motion carried. This decisive outcome reflects the unwavering commitment of UTAG members to protect our environment and livelihoods from the destructive impact of mining activities in ecological and sensitive areas such as reserves, farms, and water bodies. And the statement went on. It was signed by Professor Mumudu A. Akudugu. He is the national president for UTAG, and the secretary, Dr. Eliasu Mumuni, national secretary. And under the comment section, E.T. Donko, he is a member of UTAG. He says, it's a moment of immense pride to be a member of UTAG in these unconscionable times. We have no moral authority for shaping the next generation, of citizens if we abdicate our most sacred civic duty as others have done. Long live Ghana. We also have Nana Kwesi Tutu saying, this whole strike brouhaha was started on hatred and emotion by some group of people in this country. It is not because they love Ghana and they want the Galamsey to stop, but their interest and politically motivated. Just listen to their comments on radios, TV, and on social media. And the last thing trending on X is Hurricane Milton. So yesterday, during our midday news on ABC News, we brought to you that the United States, Florida, is facing an imminent surge of a possible 3.5 meters hurricane that was called Hurricane Milton, and the speed was 155 meters per hour. That is 250 kilometers per hour. Let's look at a video of how the hurricane hit Florida and the impact that it had on the state. So that was Hurricane Milton hitting parts of Florida and the impact that it had on the state of Florida. So that brings us to the end of trends for today. Now let's get straight into the world of sports. So in sports today, the road to the Total Energies African Cup of Nations Morocco 2025 continues this week as the national teams across the continent gear up for another thrilling round of qualifying matches. Match day 3 of the qualifiers will take place from Thursday, October 10 to October 12, 2024, with teams divided into 12 groups battling it out in a series of exciting encounters. A total of 24 matches are scheduled as teams strive to secure their spots in Africa's Premier Football Tournament. The top 2 finishers in the 11 groups that do not include tournament host Morocco will earn a qualification to the competition. The qualifiers will determine the 24 teams that will compete in the 35th edition of Africa's biggest sporting spectacle, set to take place between December 21st, 2025 and January 18, 2026. Here are the full schedule for match day 3 of the African Cup of Nations qualifiers. So Thursday, that is today, we have Namibia facing Zimbabwe at 1 p.m. and at 4 p.m. we have Cape Verde facing Botswana, Dr. Congo also facing Tanzania. Ghana will face Sudan at the Accra Sports Stadium at 4 p.m. and also Algeria will face Togo at 7 p.m. Same time, Burkina Faso will also host Burundi, and that will bring us to the end of the matches for today. And for tomorrow, we will have Equatorial Guinea facing Liberia at 1 p.m. Also, Zambia will face Chad at 1 p.m. and Mozambique will also face Eswatini at 1 p.m. And at 2 p.m. we will have Madagascar facing Gambia. And at 4 p.m. we will have Egypt face Mauritania, Nigeria face Libya, Benin face Rwanda, Cameroon will face Kenya, and Uganda will face South Sudan. South Africa will face Congo, and Senegal will face Malawi at 7 p.m. Same time, Angola will also face Niger. And the last 3 matches for the day will be Cote d'Ivoire versus Sierra Leone, Mali versus Guinea-Bissau, Tunisia versus Comoros, and Gabon versus Lesotho. And on Saturday, these are the matches that will take place. So those will be 2 matches between Guinea and Ethiopia at 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. will be Morocco versus Central Africa Republic. That will be the end of the matches for the match day 3 qualifying round of the AFCON Cup of Nations qualifiers. And on 15th, the return legs will take place at various match venues. So we will bring you the updates as and when the matches takes place today. So that will be the end of sports and trends for today. I am Godwin Opoku Oche.
Company Limited. We're producing 300 tons of industrial starch daily from 1,200 tons of fresh cassava.
Me won say nyado ani amat tractor etimi aba ekrom ho amantin mansim bi say tractor si we say begu ho no nyado ano enti bra na ba ko efre me say e pese do bagiafuo no me de mensa nyina so mu enya gidie mbehu ha say adwuma na ayekoso no enti me de masase nyina be 18 acres edibia pancha e wonu medikan ba mu ne de aboa wonu pa santina me hu sa kokoa ene amante adwuma na aboa wonu ntina me so me force say fasa wachi ene afefre so ono so me force say also obetumi ayɛ den aboaye
na banchi adwuma no ba he banifo ba ma mete na mi se mwaye nti me de me ho kodon banchi kuo no se banchi de die matim na mi se nyame din mu nti beye
na do one district petre no odi aba no oso ye nsa yie pa obi amfa ne nsa nsom yie
o ma mpanyini one district pa boa me pa.
World Mental Health Day theme today is it is time to prioritize mental health in the workplace. Happy Mental Health Day to you all, and wherever you are, once again, happy Mental Health Day to you. The goal 3 of the Sustainable Development Goals, that's SDG, talks about good health and well-being. My name is Sandy Opondinchi, and this is Health Tips right here on ABC in the morning. Today, October 10, marks World Mental Health Day with the theme, it is time to prioritize mental health in the workplace. This year's theme highlights the importance of addressing mental health issues in the workplace, considering the 60% of the global population is employed and spends a significant amount of time at work. This theme is crucial because employment can have both positive and negative impact on mental health. On one hand, employment can provide a sense of purpose and structure, while on the other hand, poor working conditions, long working hours, and stress can exacerbate mental health issues. By prioritizing mental health in the workplace, employers can foster a supportive environment that promotes well-being, reduce stress, and encourage open conversations about mental health. Now, more than 2.4 million people in Ghana are estimated to be living with various mental health conditions, 98% of them still lacking access to medication and to the qualified service it provides. The inadequacy of treatment, together with the associated stigma surrounding such persons, is a major concern. Let's look at why we observe Mental Health Day. Now, you need to be well informed that Mental Health Day is observed annually on October 10 to raise awareness about mental health issues and promote mental well-being globally. There are some advice on dealing with mental health. First, we look at seek help, and you need to consult professionals or support groups. This is what we are giving you right here on Health Tips as we are celebrating World Mental Health Day. The first one is that you need to seek help. There is a need for you to seek help. The second one is that practice self-care. You need to engage in activities bringing joy or relaxation. And bringing joy and realization, you can look at spending time reading, spending time breathing, and spending time inhaling the sunshine. And the third point we are giving you is that you have to connect with others, building strong social network. Building strong social network really ensures that you are able and looking at how your mental health is stable and you are good to go. The fourth one is that you need to stay informed and get educated on mental health. Right here on Health Tips, as we are doing, we are educating you on mental health, as today being the Mental Health Day celebration. So you need to stay informed on certain issues and certain things you need to know about mental health. The fifth one is that you need to break the stigma. Stigmatization is one thing that we need to shun away from. You need not to stigmatize people that are suffering from any of the mental health issues. So openly discuss mental health experiences with anyone that you need to you trust, or a psychologist that you are going through something. You need to discuss that with a person. And then people that also are fan of stigmatizing people suffering from mental health, you need to be advised on that. And before we continue, ABC News Ghana ABC News Ghana took to the street to seek the views of some Ghanaians and ask them how they deal with mental health. Let's take a look, come back with more.
You become very tired. And when you are tired, there's nothing you can do. So whenever I'm stressed out, I have to pause whatever activity. Whenever I'm stressed, I just have to stop whatever I'm doing and then take some rest. Because sometimes when you are stressed out, you lose concentration. There will be poor concentration also. You lose energy and then also you become very tired. And when you are tired, there's nothing you can do. So whenever I'm stressed out, I have to pause whatever activity I'm doing and then take some deep rest. Also, if I cannot continue my activity after the rest, I just have to do some exercise. After that, I can continue with whatever I want to do. So that's how I deal with my stress.
Due to our cell phones and things, whenever there's stress, you just take your phone, go to the social media and just go to some videos that will entertain you and just avoid the stress. That's all.
When I get stressed, I just take my time. I use my little time at home. Maybe I will just go with my my training. Then after the training, I take my bath. I make sure that everything is in order. I don't stress myself a bit because I do calculation with my time. Yeah, because I have lesser time. I have the time that I used to do other stuff. You understand? So if I'm stressed, I relax. I take more time to relax the body. I don't stress myself a bit. You understand? That's how I do with it.
So what you just witnessed are the views of some Ghanaians on the street sharing their take on how they deal with stress. Join the global movement today by sharing your mental health stories and experiences. You need to go to someone if you are going through any form of mental illness or issue. Go to a doctor, a counselor, or someone you trust to share your issue with a person. The second thing as well you need to do is that you have to use hashtag. Use the hashtag World Mental Health Day, hashtag Mental Health for All. And when you do this, you are joining the movement in creating awareness on mental health. The third one is that participating in local events and activities. So today being the celebration, there are lots of activities, lots of events going on across the world. So wherever you find yourself, you can join the movement by participating in this event as well. You can also advocate for increased investment in mental health services. So where you find yourself in your village, in your community, you can take up the initiative by educating your neighbors or your people on the need to know mental health. And the last one is that reduce stigma. As I've spoken about, reducing stigma is very crucial in tackling mental health and as we create awareness on it. So encourage employees to open, discuss mental health concerns without fear or stigma or discrimination. Indian stand-up comedian, actress and writer Aditi Mittal says that mental health is not a taboo. It's okay to seek help. It's okay to not to be okay, and it's okay to ask for help. So that's what she's saying. Anytime you are feeling stressed or whatever it is, make sure to seek for help, and there's no harm in it. Together, let's prioritize mental health, promote awareness, and ensure equal access to service for all. Prioritizing mental health in the workplace, we can create a healthier, more productive, and supportive work environment for all. Happy Mental Health Day to you once again with the theme, it is time to prioritize mental health in the workplace. Do stay tuned on ABC News Ghana for more updates on our midday news. My name is Andy Opondechi and this is Health Tips. We'll come back with more. Do stay tuned.
Despite the rain, the people of Ahanta West, Elembele and Jomoro constituencies give a spirited welcome to the Possibilities bus. The air is filled with euphoria and optimism as Dr. Bawumia interacts, listens and shares his vision for Ghana's bold future.
Here driver's license. Ghana driver's license is valid for 6 years, but every 2 years we are just renew it. And yes, your new driver's license will be valid for 10 years, and you renew it every 5 years. Every 5 years we will renew it.
Dr. Bawumia's Day continues with the commissioning of vital community projects, including the Fiasaman Oil Palm Processing Company under the 1D1F initiative. And then Shayem Government Hospital. These projects highlight Dr. Bawumia's focus on sustainable development and healthcare improvement in the region.
Welcome back. So today we are celebrating, commemorating World Health Mental Day. It's very necessary and important that you take your mental health very seriously. Pay particular attention to it and prioritize it above everything. Your mental health matters. The same way when you're sick physically, you go to the hospital. When you think something is wrong emotionally, anything that could affect your mental health, please seek advice from professionals, and you'd be a better person for it. On that note, let's delve straight into Business Fix. Business Fix is up next. Today on Business Fix, we are taking a look at the petroleum industry. Per an industry report by Deloitte Ghana, high taxes and political interference are suppressing the growth of the petroleum industry. High taxes and political interferences are suppressing the growth of the petroleum industry in Ghana. And this is a report that Deloitte Ghana has put together based on a survey that it conducted. The survey called the Oil and Gas Industry Survey for October 2024. In this survey, so many things came up, and the report highlights the critical issues affecting the petroleum industry or the oil and gas sector. Key amongst these issues are high taxes and political interference. High taxes and political interferences. A significant 45% of stakeholders identified political interference as the most substantial barrier to oil exploration in Ghana. 45% of respondents identified political interference as the most substantial barrier to oil exploration in Ghana. And this concern reflects the ongoing challenges in regulatory frameworks and governance that impacts operational stability. It's impacting operational stability. Alongside political interference, poor transparency, poor transparency in operations and decision-making processes was noted as a major roadblock to the oil and gas industry, further complicating investment and exploration efforts of the people in the sector. High taxes were also highlighted by 46% of respondents as detrimental to the competitiveness of the oil and gas industry. The stakeholders expressed that these financial burdens hinder the growth and investment opportunities within the sector. There are growth opportunities in the sector, however, the financial burdens hinder this growth. The survey also indicated that the upcoming emissions levy could significantly influence investment decisions as businesses assess their financial viability before considering new environmental regulations. So these emission levies that are upcoming could impact the industry in a certain way. And the respondents of the survey also cited that expensive processing fees are major challenges in obtaining approval from regulatory bodies in the industry. In wanting to get approval, the amount of money they have to pay as processing fees is too high for them. And the report after the survey has urged government to provide more support for independent oil and gas companies. Overall, the Deloitte survey underscores the urgent need for policy reform and enhanced transparency in Ghana's oil and gas sector to foster a more conducive environment for exploration and investment. Some 40% of respondents believe that collaboration between the local and regional players is a strategy that, when adopted, will promote the oil and gas industry. We have joining us Yao Apia-Lartey, who is a partner financial advisory at Deloitte Ghana. Good morning, Yao. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning to you and to your listeners and viewers.
Yao, since Deloitte conducted this survey, can you explain to us the methodology you used in the survey, how the respondents were selected, and what measures were taken to ensure a representative sample?
Excellent. So thank you very much. So this is a survey that we conducted on behalf of the Petroleum Commission of Ghana. So the purpose of the survey was to solicit views from the players in the market, particularly exploration and production companies in our upstream industry, upstream oil and gas industry. The Petroleum Commission has over 2,000 players in the market or registered with the Commission. Obviously, some of them may have left or others may have closed businesses, but we still have the contacts of over 2,000 players in the market registered with the Petroleum Commission. So we reach out, we sent to all the entities registered with the Petroleum Commission, and we sent emails to the email addresses that have been designated at the point of registration. We had a number of them bouncing back, obviously, because people may have moved on, but there was some good responses, just under 80 people or 80 players in the market. And the good thing was that those who responded are senior executives, CEOs, deputy CEOs, chief operating officers, etc. There were a few lower management people, but I think significant number that responded were senior executives. And so that's how we came by the research.
The questionnaires or the survey are people who have the requisite knowledge in order to answer the questions as succinctly as possible.
Yes, so like I said, there's a category of the questionnaire that also requires people to state their role and level. And so over 80% of the respondents are in senior management level, so C-suite level, CFO, chief operating officers, and chief executives, and managing directors. A few number were managers, production managers, heads of various departments, etc. But I think the large majority, or the majority, were about 80%.
Yeah, what are these specific transparency challenges that the members, the stakeholders are facing? Because they mentioned transparency as one of the issues in the sector. What are some of these transparency issues?
So the transparency issues were raised in respect of exploration and production. So you notice that as part of the findings that came out of the discussions at the forum or at the local content conference in Takoradi last week, there's been a decline in exploration activities from 2018 to date, and a very significant one. Let's say the last year, we had no or little exploration activities, and so the question we ask the players in the market is that what are some of the challenges in the market, and then they mentioned that there's the few issues have got to do with the lack of transparency and political interference. So in other countries, and we give examples, in other countries, whenever an oil block or several oil blocks are available to be given to exploration and production companies, it goes through a transparent, open tender competitive process. So you can tell how many people are bidding for it, how many of them have been shortlisted, and the one who was selected, or those who were selected to do the exploration for the oil blocks. We haven't had an oil license round. I mean, we've tried it before, but it hasn't been one that has gone through the process. And so a lot of the players in the market say they see it in other regions, they see it in other markets as open, competitive, transparent process. But in this case, there's a lot of, there's some level of, there's no transparency in some process, some of these processes. And then in addition to that, they mentioned issues of political interference. So you can have instances where directives are issued by the ministry, department, and agencies, obviously coming from the political heads. And this affected exploration activities. Beyond that, there were other major roadblocks that were mentioned by the players in the exploration and production sector. They mentioned issues like lack of financing support. Elsewhere, government support local exploration and production companies to explore. So in addition to the political interference and lack of transparency, the next issue is the lack of support. And then inadequate investment incentives. Some of the players were asking for specific tax exemptions. Exploration and production is very expensive, highly capital intensive. And so if you do not get the tax incentives or tax exemptions and policy directives that support your investment, you will invest a lot of money and you may not even get the returns, because it's also a risk that you are taking. You may not even find the oil.
Well, a risk that we are taking. But however, it's been mentioned that Ghana is offering too much tax support for other industries in the country at the moment, and it is having a bearing on our economy. As a finance person, don't you think that in giving more tax support to other industries, especially now that the people in the petroleum industry are calling for tax support, we will be burdening other aspects of the economy?
That's a very interesting question. And so it's just balancing the two. And prior to this, there was another presentation that Deloitte led, which was on comparative analysis. So you are looking at investment in about 6 countries, and then the correlation between the investment and taxes and local content provision. So you realize that countries that had lower taxes and lower tax regime saw significant investment in exploration activities. Norway is a very good example. So in Ghana, our upstream oil industry has got tax rate of between 35 to 65%. In Norway, the regime is 25%. And Norway has seen the significant investment in exploration activities. So it is one thing just looking at your fiscal policies and fiscal targets and your tax targets and say that I'm imposing taxes of 35% to meet your tax revenue target. But then what it means is that it may be counterproductive in the long term, because the investment that you are looking at, if these investors look at it and they take the money elsewhere, you've lost the investment. If you bring the taxes down and you rather see a lot of investment, it has other multiplier effect on the economy, where jobs are created, where investment come into the market, you get the foreign exchange, etc., etc. So the multiplier effect is quite significant, and even more than the tax revenue that you get. So I think it's for the revenue authorities and government to look at how they carefully balance it. If you're looking at the tax regime, we provide a tax initiative or tax incentive that supports investment. And when the investment comes, they will grow the economy. I think that's how we're looking at it. So it's not necessarily that you reduce the tax or give a tax exemptions, but if you can reduce the rate to encourage investment, it helps.
Per the reports and per the survey that you have conducted, what's the outlook for the oil and gas industry in the coming years?
Well, the outlook is good. I guess to the extent that we are going to implement these policies, one of the things that came up was that we are in election year, and given that one of the key concerns raised by the players was political interference, there's a slowdown in investment in the oil and gas sector as a result of the upcoming elections. But post the elections, as we've done it in the past, if we peacefully go through the election, we are likely to see investment coming up in 2025 and beyond, because obviously there will be new policies, new drive to enhance or support investment. And we believe that some of our findings in this report, taken on by the new government in 2025, will also help in attracting investment into the sector.
Some of them raised concerns with the emission levy that may be implemented. How can we look at the landscape, the petroleum landscape, and work around this levy so that they will not be as affected as they envision the adverse effects may be?
Yes. So about 65% of the respondents that we interviewed are aware of the emission levy, which is a good thing. What it means is that they went on to even say that it influences their investment decisions. So this is another opportunity for government to look at that. Look, you have an emissions levy, and the emissions levy is supposed to encourage our country going green. So if we support companies and apply the emissions levy appropriately, you will get the right investment that are compliant with our achievement or attainment of SDG goals around protecting the environment, etc. So a lot of the respondents that we interviewed are aware of the emissions levy, and it actually influences their investment decisions. So what we need to do is to introduce a lot more of such levies, where the levies are introduced to enhance our green carbon targets, where people are doing things that are environmentally compliant, etc., etc. I think when we do that, we will encourage the right investment. And for the oil exploration company, they get the right financing if they go green. Yeah.
They'll get the right financing if they go green. Finally, before you go, what are some of the recommendations you will make following this survey, this report? What are the recommendations you would make to the petroleum industry?
So I think we summarize our recommendations in a number of ways based on the findings that came up. So in the first place, we realized that a lot of respondents wanted support to finance the exploration activities. So the support are not only in the form of tax exemptions. The support are government initiatives and policies that encourage investment in the sector. And a very good example is where you are bringing an emission levy where people get tax credits for being environmentally compliant. I think these are things that we think government should consider. We should also support the local capital market. People are confident that they can get financing locally, because financing your exploration activity with foreign currency, sometimes it's a challenge, especially when the local currency depreciates. And so that's something that government should consider. And a lot of the concerns that were raised were around the regulators. So the top regulator, Petroleum Commission, Ghana Revenue Authority, and then the Ghana Investment Promotion Center and the Registrar General Department. Concerns were raised about high fees that are charged by these regulatory authorities. So it was something that the concern that was raised. The second concern, which I've mentioned earlier, was the high tax rates. And then the third one was about changes in policies. So today, a letter is written, a directive is given by one ministry department about law that has been passed. The law only stays for barely about 6 months. Then a new act has been passed, a new law, a new directive is issued. So the uncertainty around the fiscal regime also creates problems for investors. And so we should allow the stability clauses, we should allow a lot of the laws that we pass to stay, to pass the test of time, so that investors can predict with certainty what their revenues are going to be, what their outcomes are going to be, etc. I think these are things that we have proposed to government, that let's have consistency in policies, let's look at some of the fees and charges we are charging. And then the last one, which is also critical, is that a lot of the players in the exploration and production sector are actually in need of forex. A lot of them say they need forex for their operation, but the forex are either coming at a high rate or unavailable. So even when they are ready to pay at a high exchange rate, it is not available. So we call on the central bank to help make these foreign currencies available to exploration and production companies.
Yeah, I know I said that was the last question, but let me ask you another last question. And this is, with the emission levy, are the stakeholders calling for it to be scrapped, or they'll be willing to bear the taxes that come with it?
I think they're willing to bear the taxes that come with it, in the sense that they said, in addition to they being aware of it, it also influences their investment decisions. So they don't just go and buy capital equipment for exploration activity for the sake of. They buy capital equipment that enhances or reduces their emission levels, and because they know that they will get tax benefit or tax credits for reducing the emission levels. So it influences their investment decision. And for them, in addition to the tax benefit they get in Ghana, if you go to the international capital market or you go to any commercial bank, if you are going green, your finance rates or your interest that you pay on these activities are relatively cheaper than someone who is not doing green investment. So I think they have a lot of benefit that they should consider.
Okay. Thank you for speaking with us, Yao.
You are welcome.
Yao Apialate is a partner, financial advisory at Deloitte Ghana. He helped us with this conversation on the report from Deloitte Ghana. High taxes and political interference are suppressing the growth of the petroleum industry. And this is per the survey that Deloitte Ghana conducted, an October 2024 report that they have put out there. So here we have it on the conversation of the petroleum industry and what is needed to drive the industry in the right direction. This is all for Business Fix. Stay with us. We will be back. welcome back. You're still watching ABC in the Morning live on ABC News GH. You should be subscribed to our YouTube channel, ABC News GH, so that even when you are not home and you are on the road, you can still enjoy all of the content that we bring you. We are heading straight into our main discussion for today. Just before the day ended yesterday, there was a sharp U-turn by organized labor. Everybody was anticipating the next move of organized labor because organized labor had said that strike is imminent. On all the conversations we had with organized labor, they had said that they were going on strike. Why were they going on strike? It was about Galamsey. Organized labor had taken note of the debilitating effects of Galamsey on our lands and our water bodies, and had since been raising concerns and drumming home the adverse effects of Galamsey on the fabric of our nation. They had had meetings upon meetings and even an interaction, a meeting with the president, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Beyond that, organized labor still said that strike was imminent, and that on 10th they were going on strike. Remember that organized labor had given governments up until 30th September to take a decision. Beyond 30th September, they still gave government some time. So whilst Ghanaians were waiting to see the next step of organized labor, which seemed to have been cast in stone in a surprise turn of events, yesterday organized labor had called off or suspended their strike. Organized labor announced that it had suspended its nationwide strike, which was scheduled to start today. It was scheduled to start today. The strike that organized labor had been talking about garnered widespread attention. Ghanaians were interested in it because it was going to be a big strike if it happened, and it was going to put pressure on government to take a decisive action against Galamsey and its attended devastation. This shocking move by organized labor has thrown a lot of Ghanaians into surprise, with persons even calling them disorganized labor, that organized labor cannot be organized enough. Organized labor had earlier rejected the president's plea for more time to ramp up measures in tackling the menace. And as announced by the Secretary General of TUC, Joshua Ansah, on Wednesday, when he spoke, he said that their decision followed a meeting with government during which the administration offered enhanced measures to strengthen the fight against illegal mining. Joshua Ansah had earlier said that on Wednesday in the presser. Let's take a look at the presser. Well, whilst we wait to take the presser, we knew that organized labor was going on strike because organized labor said strike is imminent. We had spoken with UTAG, different groups of persons under organized labor, and they were all very sure that the road was clearly mapped out, that organized labor was going on strike. So many Ghanaians are asking what could have changed their mind in that short frame of time. Well, before we even look at what may have changed their minds, let's listen to Joshua Ansah, the Secretary General of the Trade Union Congress, TUC.
Let us be calm, please. Good afternoon, comrades. Now, brothers and sisters from the press, we have invited you here this afternoon to let you know our decision from this meeting. On Tuesday, October 1st, 2024, organized labor declared a nationwide strike with effect from October 10th, 2024. This followed the failure of government to address our demands to halt illegal mining in and around river bodies and forest reserves, as outlined in our press statement on October 11, 2024. Subsequently, the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, met with the leadership of Organized Labour on October 3rd, 2024. At that meeting, government offered a series of measures it intended to implement as part of efforts to combat the menace of illegal mining in the country. At a meeting of Organized Labour on October 7th, 2024, the meeting resolved that the measures announced by government were not adequate in addressing our demands and stopping the dangers posed by illegal mining. We therefore affirmed the strike notice and informed the government accordingly. Yesterday, October 8, 2024, the government team met with the leadership of Organized Labour and Ghana Employers Association. The meeting discussed at length Organized Labour's response to the earlier measures announced by government. Following this meeting, government offered enhanced and time-bound measures in respect of our demands and the fight against illegal mining. These measures include: 1, the revocation of the environmental protection, that's the mining in forest reserves, Regulations 2022, LI 2642. His Excellency the President has directed the Minister responsible for lands and natural resources to submit a memorandum for the revocation of the LI to Parliament when it reconvenes on Tuesday, October 15, 2024. The redeployment of the military and other law enforcement agencies to flush out illegal miners.
So that is the Secretary General of the TUC, Joshua Ansah, given their decision on the halting or suspension of their strike. We have joining us Dr. Kwabena Nyarko Otu. He is the Deputy General Secretary of TUC, and also Awula Sewa, the Executive Director for Eco-Conscious Citizens. Both of them join us for this conversation. Good morning, Doc. Good morning, Awula Sewa. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us, Awula.
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay.
Good morning.
Yes. So I'll start with you, Doc. Deputy General.
Good morning.
Yes, we hear you, sir. Thank
Hello.
you for Hello, Doc. Dr. Nyarko Otu.
Good morning.
Yes. Thank you for joining us. Let me start with you on your decision. Ghanaians were waiting for today because we knew you were going to go on strike today to drum home your request and what you were expecting government to do. Why the sudden U-turn in your intended strike? Has government met all of your demands?
No, government hasn't met all our demands. But we are trade unionists. We do negotiations, we do engagement. And as Mandela once said, if you negotiate, if you are prepared to negotiate, then you must be prepared to compromise. So at some point in the negotiations, you get most of what you want, but you made certain that one or two things you may not get it. So, and if you look at our demands, we were calling for a state of emergency. We were calling for an airline to be repealed. We were calling for redeployment of the soldiers to guard the river bodies and forest reserves. We were calling for a court to be established to deal with illegal mining cases. Now, apart from the state of emergency, today, the president has committed, in fact, he has directed the minister responsible for environment, science, and technology, together with the Environmental Protection Agency, to suspend the operations of the airline. And he has also directed the minister to submit a memo to Parliament when it reconvenes next week to finally revoke that airline. And it is important to note that in the last 2 years, several organizations have fought against this airline including the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, the CSOs and Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining, the Fourth Estate. Before campaign, nobody has bothered to even talk to them. Less than a month of organized labor entering this anti-Galamsey crusade, the president called it, the ministers have called it, and today here we are with the airline fully suspended, pending its revocation by Parliament. Beyond that, we managed to get the president to immediately redeploy the police. And as we speak, they are in the forest areas, also in the rivers, trying to evacuate all the equipment, mining equipment from those areas. As we speak today, we have been told that 14 courts have been established exclusively to deal with anti-Galamsey cases, illegal mining cases. 7 high courts and 7 circuit courts, plus other measures. So the point actually is that, yes, we did not get a state of emergency, but it's also been explained sufficiently to us that a state of emergency, what you are saying is that the president doesn't have enough powers to deal with a certain situation. So declare a state of emergency and give him more powers. But is it really true the case that our president, given the constitution we operate, doesn't have enough powers? It may not necessarily be the case. So, and any idea to say that let's give the president more powers could be dangerous. But we also should realize that a state of emergency 2 months to an election, where you declare certain parts of the country a no-go zone for others, it can have serious implications for the elections that we are going to have. And we should take all of that into consideration.
Doc, what are some of these serious implications that it could have for the elections? Why?
So if you declare a state of emergency in, say, Western North, what it means essentially is that the president has the power to restrict movement of people. So, for example, political rallies, you can say it cannot go on. Meanwhile, the governing party can have a way of doing their own activities. We are in a very young, fragile democracy. We know that things don't work the way they ought to work. You understand? So these are some of the implications you could have.
So is it to say that we are placing elections above the human lives?
That is not what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is that if there are other things you could do.
Estate account.
Hello?
Yes, Doc. Please go on.
If there are other things you could do to avoid a state of emergency, and take my key words, don't politicize my words. The key words I'm saying is that a state of emergency essentially means that gives the president more powers because he doesn't have the powers. Is it true that the president of Ghana, given the constitution we operate, doesn't have powers to deal with Galamsey?
Okay.
This is a question we should answer for ourselves.
Right. As we do well to answer those questions for ourselves, let me also engage Awula Serwah. Awula, yesterday when we spoke, you were very insistent that this strike must happen and that no other thing should take precedence over the strike. Now, organized labor has suspended the strike. How disappointed are you in this decision?
Well, you see, the government has had almost 8 years to deal with the existential threats we face, and they have not acted. We know they have the powers to do so, but the political will was non-existent. Now we have a situation where I think we are all agreed that we face an existential threat. We are being poisoned every second. We are being poisoned. I've heard what has been said, but I'm still not convinced. The press conference was on the 11th of September. Government had up to 30th September. And then after that, the strike was set for today, 10th October. The government could have acted if it was minded to do so. First of all, for me, the state of emergency is important. Even though it restricts movement, we are talking about removing illegal miners and their equipment from our forest reserves and from our water bodies. It's essential to have a state of emergency to enable this to go on. Also, yes, we asked for the revocation of LI 2462. In fact, the case is in court as we speak. Eco-conscious citizens, Arocha, media against Galamsey, we have taken the government to court because for a while now we've been asking the government to repeal it, and it has fallen on deaf ears. We were also picketing, was it last year, against LI 2462 and also EI 144. Now, having said all this, what I'm saying is that I'm not sure that it's a time to suspend the demonstration because government has not given any specific time frames. In addition, as we speak, the Minerals Commission is still issuing licenses. There's been no undertaking to revoke licenses that were issued. There's been no undertaking to revoke them. And when we have a government that put its presidency on the line 7 years ago or 8 years ago, and things have gone from bad to worse, what assurance do we have that anything robust will be done? And let me say this, in Atronsu, they had a pure Atronsu stream. Whilst all this was going on, we found out that excavators were finding their way to the Atronsu stream. We brought this to the attention of the regional minister, nothing happened. The illegal miners began to poison the Atronsu stream. We reported it to the police commander. Eventually, the illegal miners were arrested and then freed on police bail, and they went back to continue destroying the environment. At this moment, they have been stopped. But we can contrast that to the demonstrators who were denied police bail and court bail, although many of them have been now released. So we see that there's no real seriousness. Organized labor also asked for a ban on small-scale mining. Eco-conscious citizens had asked for a pause because we know very well that there's so many thousands of small-scale miners. And the government is unable, or not, I shouldn't say the government, our monitoring bodies are unable to monitor them. So when you can't monitor them, how do you allow them to operate? You need to pause all this until you can put robust systems in place. This hasn't been done. So I don't understand how the strike would have been called off. I do understand the need to negotiate. That is cardinal. But we cannot call off the strike when cardinal demands have not been met.
We cannot call off. Aula, yes, we cannot call off the strike when cardinal demands have not been met. Let me go back to Doc and then come back to you. Dr. Nyarko.
First of all, let me respond to a few of the things you just said. First of all, we did not call out the strike. We suspended the strike. And in our first statement, I think one of our last statement to government was that we are monitoring the implementation of the few things they have agreed with us, and that they will hear from us if they fail to do the needful. So it is important Awula and his people who have been working tirelessly on this issue connect with us and give us all the information, including the Atronsu one you just mentioned. It's part of our monitoring program, and we will definitely come back to government if they fail to do what is needed, at least what has been agreed with us. Second, we did not ask for...
Hello, Dr. Nyarko. Okay, we seem to have lost Dr. Nyarko, but we will establish contact so that we can continue the conversation we are having with him. But we're having a conversation with the General Secretary of the TUC, Dr. Kwabena Nyarko Otu, and Awula Serwaah, who is the Executive Director for Eco-Conscious Citizens. We will establish contact with Dr. Nyarko so that the conversation can continue. But since we still have Awula Serwaah on the line, let's continue our conversation. Awula, you are quite disappointed in what has happened, but you however have said that you do not disregard the need for negotiations, but cardinal points have not been looked at. Organized labor is also saying that to set matters clear, they have not cancelled the strike. It's just on suspension, and by suspension they are looking at what government is doing and then paying particular attention to it, and is asking, as per what Dr. Nyarko has said, that you also furnish them with details of the things you are talking about so that they have more details on what is happening. So much has happened.
I'll certainly do that, and I'll get his details from you. And I'm certainly aware that the strike has been suspended, but it would have been useful if time frames were given. We'll do this by this date, then then it helps your monitoring. But if no specific time frame has been given, it makes it more difficult. And again,
Yes, but by saying it makes it more difficult, do you think that this decision they have taken in the nick of the moment is going to make the fight against Galamsey futile?
I wouldn't say it will make it futile. I mean, let's be clear that something has been achieved. For example, with LI 2460, we had been picketing. We've also have a case in court. And if the Attorney General doesn't have any objection, then of course, if the LI is withdrawn, that will help us. But what I'm saying is that for me, a cardinal demand was a state of emergency to make it easier to remove the illegal miners from our forest reserves, including globally significant biodiversity areas and our water bodies, and of course our farmlands as well. This hasn't been met. And another cardinal demand was to stop issuing licenses and to revoke those that have been issued. This hasn't been met. And as we know, the ban on small-scale mining, which is cardinal, because a lot of the small-scale miners, not all of them, a lot of the small-scale miners, what they do is just illegal mining. It's another form of illegal mining. And the monitoring is either non-existent or not there. And why we ask for a pause, that with the big mining companies, there are fewer of them, it's therefore easier to regulate and monitor. With the thousands of community mining operatives or small-scale miners, there are so many of them we cannot monitor. So why allow them to continue operating? Since we face an existential threat, pause it. And then when you pause, you can start beginning to put monitoring steps in place. If you can't monitor, don't allow it to happen, period. And let's be clear, we have 2 million peasant farmers losing their livelihood because of unregulated mining, because of illegal mining. We have fishermen losing their livelihood. All of us Ghanaians are being poisoned. The water we drink, we don't know how much mercury or other metals or poisons are in it. We are being poisoned. Recently, yams and plantain that were exported, were found to have mercury in it. So when we say we face an existential threat, we are not being dramatic. We are stating the facts as they are. And if we don't do something about it yesterday, and the next best time is today, we are all going to die of either cancer, kidney failure, we'll continue having stillbirths, we'll continue having birth deformities, we'll continue having maternal deaths. Is this necessary? Why don't we just have the state of emergency, pause all small-scale mining, remove everybody from our forest reserves, farmlands, and water bodies, and begin to deal seriously with this situation? We didn't deal with it in 7 years. You really think we're going to deal with it before the elections? I think not.
Aula, one of the options that people have preferred is that we should send the sensitization of the issues of Galamsey to the people who are involved, especially the local people who seem not to have certain information about what is happening, because we see videos all over social media and with locals saying that nobody's going to take this away from them. This is what they are doing and this is what they would continue to do. So people have preferred certain options that, how about we go to the locals, let's sensitize them, let's educate them, let's let them know that what they are doing, although it is bringing them some amount of money, is also degrading the land, because for them what they know is what they do. And some of the things we are talking about, they are not too open to that. How about that option too? As we are looking at government, how about we also go to the base and then engage those people there?
But why can't we do it together? Who says it's not being done? I'm sure you are aware of the documentary Poisoned for Gold. It's been translated into local language, and I know that it's been taken to the areas where there's illegal mining to screen it. Sometimes they were prevented from screening it because some of the chiefs who are complicit would not allow them to screen it, and to avoid a breach of the peace, they had to go to other areas. So yes, Erasto Sasare Donko and his team and other people have been going to the areas, showing the film to sensitize people. But you see, when you're a government, you're supposed to be there for the welfare of the people. So even if they don't see what's in their own interest, you have to, you are government, nobody asked you to come, you put yourself forward. So you have to do the right thing. When you have a child and the child says, I want to take drugs, are you going to say that's what you want? So go ahead. I'm going to start sensitizing you whilst you are taking. Of course not. You are the parent, and therefore you do what you know is right for your child. The government needs to do the right thing. And let's be absolutely clear. There's the perception that the government itself is complicit. there's a perception that the firefighters are the assassins, and that's why we have not been able to deal effectively with illegal mining. We all knew about the case of, let me finish, of Akonta Mining, who are alleged to have destroyed parts of the Tano Niniri Forest Reserve. To date, they have not been held accountable, but protesters who tried to raise awareness, even if some of them did one or two things they shouldn't have done, did that mean they are being kept in custody when those who are killing us are walking free? I don't think so. So yes, we can sensitize them, but that should not be, we shouldn't be waiting for that. We should start the state of emergency. Whilst we brought in the state of emergency, there's nothing stopping the NCCE and other bodies from continuing with the education. But whether they accept it or not, they cannot be allowed to poison themselves and the rest of the population. We're all being poisoned. When you are having your yam today, do you know whether it's full of mercury? When you're frying your plantain, do you know whether or not it's full of mercury? When you're having your
we've been joined by Professor Victor Mogri, who is the Vice President for UTAG. Prof, you are welcome.
Thank you.
Prof, UTAG is still insistent on going on strike, although the mother umbrella says that strike has been suspended. Aren't you in contravention of the decision that organized labor has taken?
No, we're not in contravention with anything. I don't know what you mean by we're in contravention, because we are our independent union. It is an independent association, having its own bargaining certificate that we can always negotiate and do business with government. So UTAG is its own independent association. I'm not too sure about the structure of organized labor, but from my understanding, organized labor is a kind of a functional structure that we have put in place to always come together to see how we can demand for the welfare of the Ghanaian worker. That is the essence of organized labor.
Prof.
So as I said, it is, yes.
Yes. Prof, you have said that as for you, you're going on the strike, regardless of what organized labor has said. However, it seems government is meeting the demands halfway. Don't you think that at this time, maybe you should give government some extra time to see how the next step they will take before making a decisive decision like a strike?
Anyway, after the decision on the strike, it has been made already. So, beginning today, we have embarked on an industrial action. You indicated that government have met the demands halfway. And that halfway, have we seen the effect of it? We haven't seen any effect of that halfway that you are talking about. Our demand was very clear. Our demand is that government should put a ban on mining in the forest areas, mining in river bodies, mining in farmlands, and all of that. That is what our demand is. So what we're expecting is that if government is announcing that they are sending soldiers and army men to those places, when they get there, how will they identify who is doing legal and who is doing illegal mining? But if there's a ban on it, to sanitize the situation, because as of now, we are in a situation of chaos. Some are having the license to mine, some don't even have the license and all of that. So the best way is to place a ban so that you can sort out which ones have got the license and which ones don't have the license, that you give them the opportunity to go back and do the legal mining that those people are supposed to do. But for now that we're in a state of chaos, you release the army people, they go there, who are they chasing away and who are they keeping there? But if there's that ban, once they get there, nobody is expected to be in the forest mining. Nobody is expected to be in the river bodies mining. So they can arrest anyone who is there. Once that measure is taking place, we can then sit down and restructure and see how we can really carry out. It's not the first time government is doing this. I remember, was it 2017 or 2018? There was a ban on mining, or is it Galamsey? And some of these efforts were made, and we could see the impact of that ban. There were the water bodies were becoming clear, our water was becoming good for drinking. And I remember you, the media, even came out and praised government on that. And then there was a conscious effort of lifting the ban. And then there were some measures that government had announced that it was going to do. But I think after that, government went back to sleep. Or is it the entire Ghanaian populace went back to sleep? We took our eyes off the Galamsey issue, and we are back to the same situation. So it is not about making an announcement. It is not about saying that this is what is going to be done. We want to see the practical steps. We want to see the major actions that are taken. And once we see those actions and we see that it is bringing results, we will definitely call off our strike. But for now, we don't want to believe in just the announcements that have been made. We really commend government on that for those announcements, but we'll see that it will not yield the needed impact if we just leave it at that stage. So there's a need to follow those announcements with the actions. And that key action we are asking for is just for government to announce a ban on mining in those red zones, in those reserves and those areas. Yes.
Prof, do you say that this industrial action you have embarked on will extend even up until the elections if the requests you are making are not met?
Yes, it will extend to that. If we don't hear any response, if we don't see any serious action, we would really continue. And we don't really care which government is in power or which party is in charge of the country. Today, if there's a change of government and the Galamsey issue is not dealt with, we will continue to ask, or we will continue to be on the strike, or whatever means that we can use to bring government to action, to ensure that the right thing is done. And before, we started engaging, or we started discussing, I was listening to the conversation about the fact that we need to work with the people from the mining communities, educate them and all of that. Yes, it is important to do that. But if there is no action, you educate them and they will still go back to the same issue. So although we're asking for the ban, but we want that when that ban is done, we will sit down and think and talk and come up with key strategies that is broad enough to cover all of these areas, to be able to meet the socio-economic needs of those people in the community, to let them understand some of the challenges and all of that. It should be a broad approach. It is not just the approach of just announcing that you send soldiers there and then you are going to release the operation halt also. We have done this before, but it has not yielded any effect. So this time we really need to sit down and come up with broad approaches, far-reaching approaches, that is including everyone, including the chiefs, including the religious leaders, all of those people to be brought on board so that we can bring an end to this issue. Yeah.
Prof. Magri, what are some of what does your industrial action entail? Your strike,
for now,
what
it's an industrial action. So we are going on strike. The first thing that we are taking up is withdrawal of our teaching and related services. That is what the strike is all about, the withdrawal of teaching and teaching-related services that we provide. The university lecturer has 3 or 4 responsibilities. Teaching is the number one. We have community service that we are supposed to do, and that is what we are doing now, trying to see how we can solve this Galamsey issue. It's part of our community service. Research is also one of our responsibilities. And then administration, especially those who are heads of departments, heads of units in the university, they play the role of administration.
Prof, in withdrawing
the one we have withdrawn is only the teaching service.
In withdrawing your teaching service, what happens to your student?
Oh, you mean this if the teaching service is withdrawn, it means that there are no lectures. We will not have any classes.
So it means
Our
that
students will definitely get back to them.
the education will be halted at this point in time.
Imagine if in the near future our students are not able to get quality water to drink. They are not able to get quality food to eat. You know, food is everything. Food is life. We eat to live. I don't know whether you are aware of that. If we eat to live and we're asking people to eat healthy, and meanwhile the food that is produced is not healthy, I eat the food and I get sick, then at the end, what is going to happen? It means that people will not eat. And if people don't eat, they will become malnourished. If they become malnourished, you are going to have a malnourished country. In fact, let me put it at the level of children. If children don't eat, their brains are not going to be well developed. If the brains are not going to be well developed, they will not achieve their academic potential. They will not be able to be successful in adulthood. They will become less productive when they become adults because of the fact that their brain capacity will not be able to function very well and all of that. And that is why most of the time you see that when you look at countries around the world where you have a situation of children being malnourished, those countries that have high prevalence of malnutrition in children, they are also at very poor countries, less developed. It's because probably when they were growing up, they didn't get enough food to eat.
Prof,
their brains were not well developed, so they were not able to really come up with strong policies that can even be able to solve our issues.
Prof. Mogri,
yes.
If government calls you to the table for a discussion, would you be honoring that invitation?
Yes, we will definitely honor. For us, we are always in talks with government. So if they call us today, we will definitely answer. It's not the first time that we are going on strike. We have been having interactions with the government, even when we were negotiating on our conditions of service at the beginning of the year and all of that. There was an intention to go on strike, but government met us halfway, and we did not declare that strike because government really met us and we discussed and were able to reach to certain agreements and all of that. So for us, we are always open for any engagement. If government invites us, we'll definitely honor government's call.
In their invitation to you, if government decides that it won't be banning small-scale mining, what is the broader picture? What is the end game to that then? Will it be that...
I didn't get your question.
If government invites you and you honor that invitation and per your deliberation, your discussions with government, it comes out that government is not banning the small-scale mining, what next is happening? What will be the end game?
Oh, that one, I don't think I need to get into that sort of prediction. Let us have the engagements. Once we have the engagements and I understand what we're asking for, I know the government will also tell us what it is doing. And as I said, we just want to see the evidence. So some of the measures that government have announced, if by next week we are beginning to see some of those measures taking place, if by next week we have the soldiers or the military people going to those areas, arresting people and stopping mining in those areas, I mean, it is about engagement and also understanding that these are the efforts that have been put in place. Once we see that, I don't think it will be an issue for us. And I don't think government will come and tell us and say that it will not agree to the ban. If it will not agree to the ban, I'm sure government will come up with an alternative. And if that alternative is a viable one and it is something that we know that can really bring the impact that we want, I mean, we'll definitely call it off.
Prof, don't you
we
think
are not
that
in it for the fun of it? It is to bring about change. Yes.
Don't you think that if the alternative is not viable, then you would also be coming to the decision that organized labor has gotten to? You would be quelled to suspend your industrial action.
Then if that's the case, then why did we just continue on the strike? So we have got our indicators that we are looking at. So as I said, when government engages us, we'll measure that with our indicators. Our members give us matching orders. So we'll measure that with the matching orders and see whether there's a need to really call it off or not.
Okay. You measure that against your matching orders. Let me also engage Aula Sewa on this. Aula, thank you for staying with us.
Thank you. First of all, I note what organized labor said, that they haven't called it off, they have suspended it. But let me say that all the CSOs I know of commend UTAG for being the conscience of Ghanaians. They commend UTAG. And they would have wished that organized labor had ensured that there were deadlines or timelines before they called off the strike. But having said that, we commend UTAG for continuing it. But let me just say one thing. It is true that I believe it was in 2017 or so that there was a momentary ban on small-scale mining, and the waters began to clear. But let me be very clear. Even when the water is transparent, it doesn't mean there's no mercury in it, because mercury is colorless. And that's why I've been saying that we face an existential threat, because it's water that is life. So right now, when you're drinking your pure water or water coming from the taps, you don't know whether or not there's mercury in it, because Ghana water does not remove the heavy metals or mercury. And I remember at the launch of Poison for Gold, the head of the Minerals Commission said that when he was a child, he drank tap water, but he would not allow his children to drink tap water because he doesn't trust Ghana water to have properly treated the water free from harmful stuff. And yet he is the one happily issuing licenses for people to go and mine, even in forest reserves where a number of water bodies take their source. I'm pleased with UTAG, and I think that we should all, you can see I'm wearing red today. We are asking everybody to have either red bands or to wear red, to say that we understand we are being poisoned. We face an existential threat, and we hope that government would sit up to its responsibilities. We want the state of emergency. We want everybody cleared from our forest reserves and our water bodies and our farmlands. We want the revocation of licenses that have been given to mine in forest reserves. And we think that a pause on small-scale mining is essential, because as we speak, our monitoring regime is weak or non-existent.
Our monitoring regime is weak or non-existent. Zaula, some have said and raised concerns about the politicization of this fight, and as a result, it is impeding how well the fight could have been done. In your opinion, how can we rid fights such as these of the politics that are attended with it, so that it is not polarized? Now the conversation is divided along political lines, so much so that we are not looking at it from a nationalistic point of view, but many are taking a look at it from the political lens.
All I'll say that many people in political office are not fit to be there. When you are in political office, nobody forces you to go there. You choose to go there to serve. So you are resolute and you do the right thing. You put your presidency on the line. It means you do the right thing regardless of the consequences, because you are putting Ghana first. It's very easy for me because my party is Ghana. And you might be aware that eco-conscious citizens are asking all political parties and all persons aspiring for political office to sign up to these demands, so that it doesn't matter whether or not there's a change in government, everybody must do that. And shame on anybody who is politicizing the matter. You see, we face an existential threat. We are all being poisoned. You might think you buy bottled water, which is important. Do you use that to bath? Because you see, even when you are bathing with water, you are absorbing the poisons through your pores. So let's not be so selfish. Let's put Ghana first. And nobody should politicize it. It's unfortunate that former President Mahama, at the last elections, went to Galamsey areas, or shall I say illegal mining areas, telling them that when he came to power, I hope I'm not misquoting him, when he came to power, he'd free them. That was very unnecessary. All he had to do was to say that illegal mining is wrong, it's poisoning Ghana, poisoning Ghanaians, and I will enforce the law when I come to power. And that was not done, unfortunately. So anybody politicizing this matter is irresponsible. But having said that, that should not prevent the government. We only have one government at a time. So if you are in government, whether or not people are politicizing issues, should not detract you from doing the right thing. If it does, then you're not fit to be in political office. You are resolute and you do the right thing. If you lose the election, so be it. If you win, so be it. Your duty is to do the right thing, not to supervise the poisoning of Ghanaians, not to supervise the destruction of our forest reserves. I think that is unacceptable. Do the right thing, regardless of whether or not it costs you votes.
Aula, you are a member of CSO's platform. CSO's platform has made certain demands and recently have said that because of Galamsey, we may not meet all 17 of the SDGs. What are some of the demands CSO platform is making? This will be our last conversation on the matter.
It's the same demands that organized laborers and others are making. I will start again. Declare a state of emergency so that you can go into the forest reserves, water bodies, farmlands, and remove illegal miners and their equipment. Repeal LI 2462. And then all licenses that have been granted should be revoked. Put a pause on community mining. So these are the basic demands. These are the basic demands. If they are followed, there'll be no problem whatsoever. But you must declare a state of emergency so that you can properly do what we are asking you to do. Because you see, I keep on saying it like a sports record. We face an existential threat. We are being poisoned. Our water, which is life, is being poisoned. Our soil has been poisoned. Very soon our cocoa will be rejected as full of mercury. Our foodstuffs are being poisoned. Your contomere, your cassava, your yam, the rest of your tubers plantain, is being poisoned. Our fishes have been swimming in mercury-infested water. What do you think we're going to be eating when we are eating fish? So we have to understand that it's a very serious situation we face, and we cannot afford to politicize the situation. Indeed. We cannot afford to just...
we cannot afford to...
And hoping that it will go away.
Well, thank you, Awula. Thank you for your insights on the conversation on Galamsey. I'm sure that as the days go by, there will be more coming up and then we can have more conversations. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Awula Sewa is the Executive Director for Eco-Conscious Citizens. We initially earlier spoke with Dr. Kwabena Nyakotu, who is the General Secretary, the Deputy General Secretary for the Trades Union Congress. And we also spoke with Dr. Albert Mogri, who is the National Vice President for UTAG, all on the conversation of Galamsey and the U-turn that organized labor has taken on strike. Still on this conversation, let's look at labor and how state institutions had threatened to fire their members who joined the strike if the strike went on. It raised a lot of concerns. People said that it was quite unfortunate that CEOs of companies and all would threaten their members if they went on strike. The managing director for GEHOC, Maxwell Kofi Juma, had issued a stern warning to workers of GEHOC, saying that if they went on strike, they would see what would happen. Let's take a look at that video. Well, whilst we wait for the video, he had said that any staff member who joined or participated in the strike by organized labor would face termination. And the question is, what does our labor law say about this? Is any director, any CEO in the position to do that? Does anybody have the right to say that we are going to fire you because you went on a demonstration? Well, let's see what the Labor Act says. Labor Act 2003 says, Section 63 Clause 2 says that it is unlawful to terminate a worker's employment simply because he participated in a strike. Any employer who uses any kind of threat to intimidate a worker during negotiations or collective agreement is guilty of unfair labor practice. Any employer who uses any kind of threat to intimidate a worker during negotiations or collective agreement is guilty of unfair labor practice. And these are some of the things that came up. There was also another video of the head of the Ghana Meteorological Agency also going the same tangent. Let's take a look, and then we'll be back for a conversation on this.
The managing director for Obi Georg no say organize.
Say Georg for Muti. What do you
It's a public sector. I threaten.
No,
the managing director for Obi Georg no say organize labor see yankwa. Obi ama
me
Hey, Kofi Juma.
Me me tie ka no. What do you
Obi oya Juma Georg say organize labor see yanko.
Yes.
Okwa obi yinedi.
Where you you pay?
Are they not part of organized labor?
You need labor laws for Ghana.
Your labor laws?
Yes. So what I say. Won't me man say oh cost strike because case can buy it. What has it got to do with Gihok?
It's a national concern.
National concern, let it be national concern. But not Gihok concern.
The Gihok is a government institution or?
How?
Ghana
for yes, and there are rules. Until be tiho now one ye na ne konya ne ya no sorry ano or barbe kika nsemo ana musumu di achire we do pako no mo kra no go we see a time because enya safo ne gugi.
Hey, and Obi want to use your mess or organize the labor contract. And as a subset in Bredias, and Indians I didn't know.
Monsieur Jansa,
Chairperson, and on behalf of the board, that GMET is part of the essential services of this country. So, on behalf of the board and leadership of this agency, I want to announce to you that GMET does not approve any of its workers to join the nationwide strike. And any worker who will flout the directive of your board should declare himself or herself as having terminated his or her appointment if you join the strike. We are an essential services that provide very important and critical services to the nation. Any worker that will flout this directive coming from the board, if you have sent yourself from work from tomorrow, do not step within these premises again.
The best thing for them, it's not for strike. But say a politics now, then the strike is your solution. And you say, I hear politics na man for the day anymore, which is the most unfortunate thing. Ever. Now, we organized labor. Then your friend organize. Now, a B, we say, I didn't know I organize no. More mudi anymore no. More organization. And then to I disorganized. So it's disorganized labor, not organized labor. Because say concerned group be wom no more has say and no one idea now why our friend organized labor no. And you organized labor. Now one consult to omo. Yam bisa omo say oh mo so aso mo be call track e be say koi motiasia na yen konesa na aye consensus position omo de ba no. And konesa dia besre the maka say their organized labor and your organized labor behavior, a disorganized labor behavior.
So Richard Ahiadba, who you just listened to, says that organized labor, what they are doing is not organized labor, it's disorganized labor. That was before organized labor took that U-turn not to embark on the strike by suspending the strike. Earlier, before Richard Ahiadba's video, you watched Isaac Amo, who is the board chair for Ghana Meteorological Agency, who also issued a warning to workers that if they went on strike, they should consider themselves their contracts terminated. Let's speak with Dr. Frederick Odro, who is a governance expert. Good morning, Doc. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Doc, before we get into other aspects of this conversation, first off, how can we decouple the politicization of this issue of Galamsey from the nationalistic viewpoint of it?
In fact, that has been what's been weighing my mind since this conversation began. Incidentally, the last 2 weeks, I've been going around parts of the Ashanti region for a training program. And I've visited at least 6 districts that are neck deep in this problem. And what I am observing, I shiver to the bone that we are sitting on a time bomb. It is a major crisis. It is a dire situation. Because look, the mining is not even, they are not hiding this illegal act. They are destroying lands, they are destroying cocoa farms. Close to, you stand on, outskirts and even sometimes inside towns. You see these activities going on. When you are driving into most of the towns, you come across various places they are doing this activity. And it is frightening. But the danger is that you have, my conversations around shows that there are chiefs complicit. There are politicians complicit. There are police officers complicit. And then if you see the way they duck their things, their operations, I'm telling you, even if you are going to send the military there, and they get to the site, and you see the danger of even chasing people around that site, because there are deep pits all over. And if you're going to chase somebody around that place, people who know the terrain and you don't know the terrain, you can even fall into a pit and die instantly. So for me, I'm even afraid that even sending the military out there ordinarily is not going to solve the problem, because I believe the people, the monies that I'm told they are getting, they can easily compromise the military. Because you go to one site and people can offer you 100,000 Ghana cedis to leave them alone. I'm afraid even when you send the military, so we need to take a drastic action, very drastic action, devoid of politicization, because our politicians are the most guiltiest group if we want to apportion blame. Because they are all involved in it. All of them, not one side of the political divide. All sides have got their people necked. To tell you the truth, even people go to contest for the position of assembly members so that they can use their position to make money out of Galamsey. People going to take up chieftaincy positions just to make money out of Galamsey. So, please, this is a national catastrophe waiting to happen that we have discussed.
A national catastrophe waiting to happen.
Yes.
Doc, government is calling for a national pact on Galamsey. Is it viable at the moment?
Please come again. You say government is...
Government is calling for a national pact on Galamsey. Is it viable at the moment?
I believe so. And I think that all of us who are seeking to end this danger must also call out politicians. Not just the government in power. I mean, they are complicit. Their members are complicit. The ruling party's members, so at least some of their members, are complicit. But we should also call out the opposition party and call them out, because in the last election, we saw what was happening.
Well, Doc, in this complicity, you have said that the National Pact is necessary. What will be what will be the parameters that we should set for the signing of this pact?
The parameters should be that we get politicians, we get the chiefs, we get civil society to come together and say, look, this is a national, imminent national catastrophe facing us. Let us accept that nobody is going to try to use it to milk the situation, especially at this critical time of election. And that we are all equally going to condemn it, so that if it comes out that one side is going contrary to the pact that we are all going to sign, we're going to need a chief to be part of this. We're going to need the security services to be part of this, so that if any side is going contrary to what is agreed, we will all get up and say, oh, this is what you are doing, when we have all said this. You see, if we don't do that, we should forget about this trying to stop the Galamsey menace. Because there are people who are making good money out of it. And they think, you see, when we even want to talk about alternative livelihood, I laugh. I laugh because can you imagine somebody who can go to a Galamsey site and within a week can make about 50,000 cedis, and you say, oh, I'm going to find you an alternative livelihood that will earn you 5,000 cedis at the end of the year? Do you think it is feasible for that person to give the 50,000 a week or so and go for 5,000 cedis a year? So we need to take drastic action. I mean, I support the idea that we should declare a state of emergency relative to this. We should stop all mining in the country. There must be a moratorium of mining for us to take steps to do what is right. After all, even all the monies we claim to be getting out of gold and the likes, what has it done for us? That if we choose not to have it, the country is going to collapse. If we don't mine today, we can mine in a year or 10 years time when we have found sustainable means to do it. Ghana is not going to run anywhere.
Well, Ghana is not going to run anywhere. Should we now look at naming and shaming politicians who are directly or indirectly involved in Ghana?
Absolutely. That is what we need to do. We should name them. And we should punish them. Both, criminal, for criminal acts and as well as to punish them politically. Because the way we are going about things, it's as if we are not serious about solving the problem.
The way we are going about it is as if we are not serious about solving it.
All that we'll do, we'll change one government, the other one comes, their people also continue, and we change another government, and the calamity will continue. Because there is no commitment from any politician that when I am in power, I will stop it. And that if it is stopped now, I will support it.
Dr. Joe, some have said that the call at this time of the year, especially when we are just a few months to the elections, is a bad time because now all of the political parties are acting or are erring on the side of caution, so much so that they do not want to directly speak to the matter. They are skirting around it until a decision has been made at the polls. And that if the calls had come, say, a year or two ago, then they may have been able to take a stance and taken it with pride.
You see, that portrays the hypocrisy, those of us claiming to fight Galamsey, that's the hypocrisy in us. Because we have had a period from 2020 up till now, we did not take government to task. We waited until 2-3 months to election, and it has become an election issue. So have we even, we should look ourselves in the mirror and ask ourselves that are we genuine with our intentions? So we have also failed. So let us not pretend we didn't know Galamsey was going on, and that Galamsey went away for 4 years or so after the last election and came back. It didn't. It manifested in 2020 election. And instead of coming back to talk about it, we kept quiet. And now we are talking as if now, we are getting to this point, so let us begin to talk about it. It is time that we can put a sword on the government to take action. No, we failed. We have all failed. So we need to take drastic action, and we need commitment. If anybody says they are committed to the fight against Galamsey, and they will keep quiet and wait until 3 months to election before they talk, how genuine are we? How sincere are we with our intention? But that is not to say that the menace is not real. It is real. But why did we go to sleep?
Doc, let me take your thoughts on this. The managing director for GEHOC was very clear that if workers of GEHOC joined the organized labor strike, they were going to be laid off. In the same vein, the board chair for the Ghana Meteorological Agency also said same. Don't you think that some of these comments coming from heads of institutions impede this fight that we are fighting and also undermines the independence of the people who work in the organizations?
Okay, I am so much for the rule of law and following due process. What does our labor law says relative to going on strike? What are the steps to be taken? Because if you are a worker and you want to go on strike, do you just get up and go on strike? Do you give notification to your organization? In this case, we are also behaving as if each and every one of us is an employee of government. The strike was obviously against government to take an action. And if we are to go on strike, and our own institutions that we work for, mind you, I mean, you work for GEHOC, you work for the Meteo. I did hear your insert, and I heard the chief executive referring to the fact that they are essential service. I'm not too sure, unless anybody comes to say indeed what he said is not true. If you belong to that class of employees who are categorized as essential service, including the police and some other organizations, the law says you cannot go on strike except through specific processes. Now, if you don't follow those processes and you go on that strike, you would also be breaking the law. And any lawbreaker must be prepared to face the law. My point is that in as much as the purpose or what they intended to do is honorable, you cannot use illegal means to achieve an honorable means. Let us also establish that the procedure for going on strike was also legal. Because if you go on strike illegally, your organization has every right to take action against you. But let us also minimize this kind of talk during such periods. I think that the nature of how we present our case also makes our matters worse. And maybe I wouldn't have spoken that way if it had been my place to speak.
Okay. You wouldn't have spoken that way if it had been your place to speak. Thank you for speaking with us this morning, Doc.
You're welcome.
Dr. Frederick Ojo is a governance expert. We have spoken about Galamsey and all of its intended or attended adverse effects and what it is doing to us in Ghana and all of the matters that have arisen after it. MPP Youth Wing issued a statement yesterday, and in their statement they said that Organized Labour's position aligns with NDC's election strategy, leaked confidential document reviews. These are some of the things that make it seem or gives credence to it that indeed there's some politicization of this Galamsey fight from this angle and from that angle. But let's go back to when some heads of institutions warned that they were going to lay off their members or their workers if they went on strike. We listened to Maxwell Kofi Juma, the managing director of GEHOC. We listened to Isaac Amon, who is the board chair for the Ghana Meteo, both of them saying that if you go on strike, this is what is going to happen. And I mentioned that as per the labor law, it is unlawful to terminate a worker's employment simply because he participated in a strike. And any employer who uses any kind of threat to intimidate a worker during negotiations or collective agreements is guilty of unfair labor practices. We are going to speak with a labor expert so that he can help us understand what to do and what not to do. Seth Ablosu is the acting executive director for the Labor Policy International. Good morning, Seth. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Seth, what are the implications for workers of the various unions that have said that they are adamant, they are still going on strike, they are not going to rescind their decision to go on strike?
No, any is still on strike by reason of the devastating situation of our water bodies and forests and the dangerous effects we are seeing as evidenced in serious health hazards arising is completely on the right track. They are completely covered by Article Section 119 of Act 651, which is the Operative Labour Act. And that section talks about exposure to imminent hazards. And this area provides cover for any worker or group of workers who see a threat to life, safety, and health. And under this one, they are enjoined to remove themselves from that environment.
Seth, some people would say that these workers are not directly impacted by the Galamsey. So how are they in danger of what is happening?
My dear, we are all directly impacted by the Galamsey through the pollution of our water bodies. We are all impacted. You don't need to live by the river to suffer the dangerous effects of these illegal mining activities.
So, sir, this means
and Ghana Water has warned about what the situation is. So it's a very serious situation.
This means that the MD for GEHOC and the board chair for the Ghana Meteo were not within their right to say that they would lay off the workers if they had gone on the strike.
No, anybody who says that is completely out of order. It's completely out of order. And I'm asking them to avert their minds to Section 119 of the Labour Act and seek proper advice. They should go to the Employers Association, Ghana Employers Association, and seek proper advice. People are making uninformed statements of their champions. It's based on ignorance. Section 119 is completely covered. And for instance, for Greyhawk, they pay for all their products. How are consumers assured that their water quality is okay?
Right, Seth.
So I mean, if you are an in-law of the president, then you want to show that you are what? Go to the Employers Association and seek to be advised. People must be humble to learn. You can't threaten your workers that if they go on strike, you could do something. The place, Greyhawk itself, is completely mismanaged.
Well said. Has the Labour front utilized, in your estimation, have they utilized all the available avenues in this fight against Galamsey? They got to the point where they were saying that they were going on strike. In your estimation, do you think that they utilized all the avenues available to them before they got to that point of strike?
Oh, yes. And I'm saying that what we were facing, what Labour was facing, was an existential threat. And that situation is evidenced by the position of the Ghana Water Company about the turbidity levels of our waters. So nobody needs to tell anybody that do what. But the presidency engaged them. If they were wrong, the presidency shouldn't have entertained them. Yeah.
Well, could organized labor have handled the situation better, considering the various claims of politicization of the fight and the weaponization of the strike? Because people believe that organized labor was holding government ransom, so they had weaponized the strike against government, and then from other angles and avenues, their fight had become politicized because from different divides, people were throwing in the claims of politicization. Do you think that organized labor could have handled the situation better?
You see, in any situation, you can have people throwing up political angles in any struggle. It depends on where you stand. But you see, organized labor has even been lenient on government. Because government has broken several promises, and serious ones. It's surprising that organized labor leadership has not averted their minds to all this. In NPP's manifesto for 2016 manifesto, and if the manifesto becomes a plan. In there, they said they were going to implement a living wage in this country, introduce a living wage in this country. From 2017, how many years now? They have not even broached the subject of a living wage. And we are still taking minimum wage. In June 2020, Professor Yan Chairman Bedu Committee on Emoluments for Article 71 office holders urged government to take steps to address several disparities in public sector salaries. And by that, it was calling for government to address the yawning gap between the highest paid and the lowest paid worker. As we speak, government has acted on that recommendation, that serious recommendation. And alongside that recommendation is a call on the president as the #1 public servant to take a monthly salary as well as members of parliament and all Article 71 office holders. that situation hasn't been addressed. And organized labor has every right on the basis of these findings and recommendations. What it says that public servants are not working with dignity. You get it? They haven't even talked about this.
So because of this, you believe that organized labor has been lenient with government?
They have been very lenient.
So you would have wanted organized labor to go on strike?
To call needful. To do the needful.
What the strike?
And in fact, you see, this strike even they called. Check the first statement they issued. They gave a deadline up to the 10th of October. Up to the 10th of October. It means any time after the 10th, you go on strike. So they themselves, they rushed into calling off the strike. Because the strike should have taken effect if they were not going on strike. They needn't have announced it yesterday. Because they had time to sort out the nitty-gritties among the leadership. What statement was to be issued was to have been agreed among the leadership. Agreed on the text. University Teachers Association of Ghana, which wouldn't have taken the position they took. But the two leaders of organized labor walked into a meeting with an already prepared speech, into which they had no input. The others had no input.
So on the labor front, what can be done about this, where a group of people can take a decision beyond or without the input of other members of that group?
You see, the members of organized labor need to make sure that they have structures that meet democratic standards. The operating constitution. So organized labor, for instance, needs to have a constitution.
But we seem to be having some challenges with Mr. Seth Ablus. We will establish contact, and this conversation doesn't end now. So we'll have more conversation with him on this issue of organized labor. But he says that organized labor has been lenient with government. According to Seth Ablus, who is the acting executive director for Labor Policy International, he says that organized labor has been lenient with government, but says that organized labor was well within their rights. Labor was well within their rights to have said that they were going on strike, and no head of an institution had the right to threaten them with terminating their contracts. No head had the right to do that. They were within their rights. This conversation has been an amalgamation of our main discussion and politics today, because it just found expression in the conversation. So this is where we bring the end of our main discussion and politics today. We will be back. Stay with us. look at Happy Hour. And what we have for you today is not conventional like the usual Happy Hour we bring you. But stay tuned, Happy Hour is up next. For Happy Hour this morning, we are taking a look at Galamsey. Yes, the conversation is Galamsey. And what about Galamsey affects you? For those of us who still don't know what Galamsey will do to you if it continues to persist, on Happy Hour, we are bringing you a short skit on Galamsey, something we found interesting and thought that you too would enjoy and find interesting by watching. So stay tuned.
Pendrive. What is this?
What did you send me to buy?
I asked you to buy water for me.
Yes.
What sort of water is this?
Good. I like the question you're asking me. Now let's reason like man to man.
You're asking me what sort of water is this? You've taken me to over 17 Galamsey sites of yours.
I was following you step by step with this empty bottle.
Every site, I fetch small water from your own handwork. I fetch and put inside. I fetch and put inside. This bottle, it contains combination of your Galamsey sites, River Pra, River Nkobra, all the rivers that you've polluted. It is this. Drink it! Drink it! You think you are a big man, you can buy big cars, drive anyhow. So you don't care about the less privileged, the common citizen of Ghana, you don't think about them. Small water that we too will drink. Look at what you turn the water into. I don't know whether it is tea or look at what you've done. Look at this. This is what you've done. Drink this with your Ajis. Afin. Look at what you've done. Or you think you have money, you can order water from outside and drink, so you don't think about us. Why can you do this painful thing to Ghanaians? See, water, clean water. Now look at what the water has turned into. What is that? Small money that you chop. Take it and drink. When you go share it to your children and your wife, let them also drink. When you call them, say breakfast and drink. What's the meaning of that? When they talk, you say you are boss. Boss Bini, boss Tan, boss under my foot. I know you say you sack me. I've already sacked myself. Quick one. You see the money under the seat? It's not there. I've stolen it. See, is the Galamsey money yours? The gold, is it for you? Or is it for your mother? Or your father? It's just an advantage that you got there before us. Doesn't mean it's for you. It's for us. This problem is enormous.
And this should also remind us of what Galamsey can do. If we do not take care, our water bodies will become as turbid and will continue so. But we don't want to get to a point of no return. That is why every day calls to halt Galamsey keep coming up. Calls to speak to the conscience of the people involved in Galamsey have been intensified, and calls on government to take a decision has been intensified. We are looking forward to when we get to a day where Galamsey will not be part of our vocabulary as people, and as Ghanaians, we will not even remember that something like Galamsey has ever happened before. We are looking forward to that day, and we'll continue to advocate and fight to get to that point where Galamsey does not take over. So that is all for Happy Hour today, and that brings us to the end of ABC in the morning today. We are grateful for your time, grateful for your attention, and we are glad that you interacted with us. For more news, you should visit our website www.abcnewsgh.com, www.abcnewsgh.com. Our YouTube channel is ABC News GH. ABC News GH. Interact with us on all our socials at ABC News GH _ at ABC News GH _. We brought you front story, we brought you trends, we brought you sports, we brought you health tips, where we looked at mental health and the importance. So you should take your mental health seriously. We looked at business fix, and we went into our discussion primarily on Galamsey. We'll come to you same time tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourself and remember that your dreams are valid and the future belongs to those who dare to dream. I am Abna Manti. Enjoy the rest of your day.